Today is Thursday, August the 6th, 2020, and the location of the interview is in Walla Walla, Washington. I am interviewing Lance Batchelor, Batchelor, a veteran leaving the United States Marine Corps as a staff sergeant. Lance was born February 21st, 1980. Dixie Ferguson and Vic Phillips, the videographer, are conducting the interview today. We represent the Blue Mountain chapter of the American Red Cross in Walla Walla, Washington. So once again, Lance, which war and branch of service did you serve?
So I served in the United States Marine Corps, and I was in the Iraq War.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, and you served from October 2001 to February 2010. Well, we know that you weren't drafted, obviously, right. So you enlisted. And where were you living at the time of your enlistment?
Walla Walla.
Are you from here?
I am, born and raised.
Born and raised here. And why did you join?
Really the reason, well, I guess it was kind of two reasons. One was I dropped out of college because I did not like going to college. And so I was kind of working, I guess what you'd say, like a dead-end job at the time, and just kind of bored. And I have a history of military, service in my family. My one grandfather was in the Korean War, and he was a Marine. Another grandfather was in the Army in World War II. And my great-grandfather, I think, served in the Navy. I don't know if he was in World War I or what, but an uncle that was in the Army. So it was just kind of a history of
family tradition.
Yeah, and I always looked up to my grandfather that was in the Marines, and so that's what I knew. I was like, well, I'm going to join the Marines. Mm-hmm. So
let's see. Let me look at the time frame here. Was that a result of 9/11 or?
Well, I'd actually went and talked to the recruiter and signed the paperwork before 9/11 happened, and I was supposed to go to boot camp, I think in June or July of 2001, and for whatever reason the dates kind of got pushed back, and then 9/11 happened, and I was like, oh well.
Congratulations.
We're in it now, I guess. So didn't really know what to expect, but.
No kidding. You were living at home at the time?
Nope, I was living on my own.
Okay. What did your parents, family think of you joining the Marines?
I think they thought it was a good idea. They didn't really had nothing negative to say about it. I'm sure maybe they were concerned, especially after 9/11 happened, but.
Exactly. So you signed up, and before you knew it, you were on your way to training where?
The Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego, California.
And that would have been in October?
Yeah.
November? Uh-huh.
Yep.
I would love to know how your welcome was. Would you describe your welcome crew?
It was a big eye-opener, I guess you could say. So nothing I don't think really prepares you for getting screamed at as soon as you get off a bus, and then you don't stop getting screamed at for 3 months or so. So
did you? When was your haircut?
Oh, probably like in the first hour, I would say. Yeah, they don't waste any time on that stuff.
And they're close to the airport.
Yeah, I mean you could see the planes taking off back and forth. So
did you have any thoughts of getting on one of those planes again?
Well, yeah, I mean you look at them all the time, and maybe you're having a rough day or something at boot camp. You're like, man, I mean the airport's right there, and all those lucky people are gonna take off and go wherever.
Yeah.
So,
how long was your boot camp?
So, God, I should know. I think it's 13 weeks is the Marine Corps boot camp.
And that was basic.
Yep.
Basic.
Yep. And so you spend, I think, I should know this, but it's kind of been a long time. You spend a couple months at MCRD, which is in San Diego, and then you go up to Camp Pendleton and do kind of all your field training and stuff, and then you come back to MCRD to do your graduation and stuff. So.
Well, was there a typical day of training like at the MCRD?
Oh,
What did you do in a typical day?
in a typical day, I mean, wake up at, God, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you hurry up and make your rack, and then you go off and eat breakfast, and then you come back and you probably do, either do drill for several hours, or you go and do PT, and, you're basically moving nonstop from the moment you wake up until, they sound reveille, which I think is at 10 o'clock at night. So
You're training the whole time.
yeah.
Did they feed you well?
Yeah, I mean, you had constant food. I don't know if you would call it good food, but it was
What was your drill instructor like?
So we had 3 drill instructors. So you had your senior drill instructor, and then you have 2, I think they're, whatever they're called, they're green belt drill instructors or whatever, the assistant drill instructors. So, actually, I didn't have any problems with them because I was the kind of guy that I just kept my mouth shut and tried to stay under the radar the whole time and not
Overall, were you okay with it?
With boot camp?
Yeah, liking it.
Yeah, after a while, you kind of get used to the routine, and so I would say probably after the first few weeks, you kind of realize that this is what you do. This is what is expected of you. So, and it becomes easier.
It really does.
It does. Yeah.
So by the time you got up to San Clemente, when you say field training, what would that entail?
So field training, so that's when you go and you do your rifle range and you get qualified, do that, and you do like kind of basic, you do basic, what else do you do?
Do you hit the beach?
No.
No, that.
No. I think a lot of it is spent at the rifle range. You do marches and hikes and various other drills and obstacle courses and stuff like that. Just while you're up there.
At that time, were they talking about the Middle East at all?
No.
Nothing?
Not that I remember. I mean, I don't think it was ever talked about because, I mean, really at that time, I don't think anybody had really gone. I mean, nobody had gone into Iraq yet, and I don't think anybody had gone into Afghanistan because they were both kind of simultaneous.
That's right.
Things going on. So.
Describe your graduation. That had to be very special.
Oh, it was amazing. But I did get yelled at graduation by a couple drill instructors in front of my mom and my girlfriend. So.
What was that?
Oh, we were done with it. We'd already graduated. So we're kind of just walking, you could kind of walk around the base. They have like gift stores and stuff like that. And I remember I walked by some drill instructors and I didn't greet them. And so of course they stopped me and proceeded to chew.
You?
Yeah, proceeded to chew my butt in front of, family, which was kind of embarrassing. But I guess you don't expect anything different from them. I think it's probably because I was like in a different platoon than, they didn't recognize me. So they're like, we're gonna pick on this guy a little bit. So,
one less dig.
Yeah.
So is it like a full day ceremony?
Not a full day. I mean, it probably lasts a couple hours, but I mean, what an event. If you've never seen
I have seen it.
The Marine Corps
Fabulous
graduation ceremony, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, and I actually just watched I have a DVD of it, and I watched it, maybe last year, because I haven't looked at it in, since I graduated. It's a pretty cool thing to watch.
It's almost like perfection.
Yeah.
It really. Your family had to be very proud.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Of course. Did you have any leave time after graduation?
I did. Yep. So, and boy, I can't remember how long it was. Maybe like a week. Got to go home, and then came back to Camp Pendleton again to do. And I forget the name of what it's called. Basically, if you're not infantry goes to School of Infantry, and so all the other MOSs go to I think it's called Marine Combat Training. And so that's where they get their basics.
What's the difference between combat and infantry?
Well, infantry is like all just dedicated. I mean, basically that's your MOS school. And then, because they say every Marine's a rifleman.
Right.
So everybody else goes to Marine Combat Training, so that's where they get, trained on doing patrolling and setting up fighting positions and, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's a condensed version of what SOI goes through. And then SOI,
which is
School of Infantry.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so then after that, when you get done with MCT, then you actually go Marine Combat Training.
Right.
Then you go to your MOS school. So that's when you actually learn your job.
Very military.
Yeah.
All the acronyms.
I know. Yeah. Tons of them. So I'm sure I forgot a lot of the meaning. Yeah. So.
How are you feeling about it then after graduation? The whole thing.
Oh, I felt pretty good about it. I mean, yeah.
Probably buffed out, ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
21 years old or probably 20 years old, I think, at the time.
And where did you get to go?
For
after your training.
So, my MOS training, it's right there at Del Mar, around Camp Pendleton, which is right on the beach. And that's where the schoolhouse is for amphibious assault vehicles, and did that.
How long did that last then?
I think it was 2 months.
2 months work.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what's next?
So then what's next is you get to go to whatever battalion you go to. And luckily for me, it was 3rd Battalion, which is directly across the street, so I didn't have to go too far.
Right.
So with the AAV MOS, there's
what is that?
amphibious assault vehicles.
Oh, okay.
There's pretty limited on places you can go. You can either go Camp Pendleton with, we call it 3rd tracks, or you can go to Lejeune, which is 2nd tracks, or you can go, I think they have a company in 29 Palms, which probably nobody ever wants to get sent to 29 Palms, or Hawaii. I think they have a small, maybe a platoon's worth, I'm not sure, in Hawaii. So, but I was there at Camp Del Mar, which is a pretty good place to be stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the beach.
Oh, yeah. And sadly, you probably saw the news. This is kind of a side note of the interview, but the lost Marines.
Yep.
Do you have an idea what had happened?
I still have a couple friends that are still in the battalion, and I didn't really ask them. I kind of just sent them a message and said, thinking about you guys, because we are actually, a very, very tiny MOS in the Marine Corps, so everybody's, I would consider family. And actually my company that I was in, my whole time has actually been disbanded. So there's, there's no longer an Echo company in the Marines. So, but,
That
really
get close to home.
Yeah. Really, there's, I don't want to speculate on what could have happened. I've been kind of waiting, like everybody else, on the report to see what actually happened.
Yeah, for the interview, there were 8 Marines lost.
Yep.
Yeah. In the incident, yeah.
Yep.
Well,
It sunk fast, and, if you're trapped in the back, there's,
Has to be a rare occasion that this would happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened very often. Obviously, not when I was in. I don't think we ever had any that sank. Maybe at Lejeune they had some, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah. Well, so you've got all this incredible training, and what's next?
So we get, join 3rd tracks, and I get stuck in Echo Company. 1st Platoon was, I believe, my first platoon that I was in, and we basically pretty much went into workups. And so workups is just like prior training to go on a deployment. So, and I believe workups last for 6 months.
Still not knowing where you're going.
Nope. I think we kind of, I don't know how long into it before they finally said, hey, yeah, we're going into Iraq. It might have been a couple months into it, but I think everybody kind of figured,
See, the time frame now, had 9/11 now happened?
Yeah.
It had
Oh, yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So could you just say, oh boy,
I think everybody kind of assumed that, we're going to go, a lot of our training that we were doing was kind of specific to desert type of training and...
no 29 Palms though?
Yeah, no. Well, did we go to 29 Palms, my first platoon? I've been to 29 Palms several times, and I can't remember if we actually went up there or not. It's been so long ago, but...
But you're doing this work up then?
Yeah.
In preparation?
In preparation for a deployment. So I was in a MU, which is a Marine Expeditionary Unit. And
MUE?
Yep. MEU.
Oh, Expeditionary Unit. Got it,
Yep,
got it.
yep.
I'm
And
sorry.
so, the West Coast has what do we have? The 13th, the 11th, 13th, and 15th MU is on the West Coast, and then they have the even numbers on the East Coast. And so basically the job of a MU is to always have in rotation, assets in the ocean, ready to be deployed, fairly quickly and stuff.
Anywhere.
So basically everybody on the West Coast handles, Middle East and South Pacific area, and the other MU handles, the Atlantic and probably, areas over there.
Well, that's interesting. So the West Coast would be the Middle East,
Yeah,
not the East Coast?
no,
Oh, that's interesting.
so,
Okay. In these 6 months, then, when did you get the signal that you're headed into the Middle East then?
oh, I mean, before we left, but we went over there on a ship, so,
Okay, describe that. Where did you embark?
we right off Del Mar, yep,
Really?
yep.
What kind of a ship?
Oh, it's a LPD. I think it was an LPD. So, which is basically like a cargo transport ship. So
It literally came up to the beach.
Not up to the beach, but they'd go like 1,000 meters off the beach, or 800, however far, and
How
we
do you
take
get-
our vehicles, and we're an amphibious assault vehicle, so
you
we
get on there with them.
can swim right to the ship and load onto the ship right from there.
And that's what you did?
Mhm.
Okay, and about how many were there of you getting, just one ship you got on now?
Yeah, our whole platoon was on one ship, and the ships are, they're big, and I couldn't tell you how big they are, but I think we had, of course, they had, a bunch of Humvees and 7-ton trucks, and then I believe the tank platoon was on there, so they had 4 tanks and maybe a recovery vehicle.
That's a big ship.
Oh yeah, and then our 13 vehicles for our platoon, and then 2 LCACs, which are, if you're not familiar with LCACs,
I don't know what that is.
so like a big hovercraft.
Oh.
So 2 of those, I think 2 of those on the ship too. So all parked down on the well deck is where all those vehicles get parked. So
Describe this ship. Okay, how long? Okay, you get on it, and where did you go?
on the ship,
Uh-huh.
oh, I think our first stop was Hawaii.
And then,
And then I don't think we made another. I think we stopped in Australia.
but
Quickly.
you had a destination.
Yep.
Which was?
Which was Kuwait.
Kuwait.
Yep.
You knew from the start, the minute you got on board the ship.
Hey, I think by that time
You're going to
they'd already
Kuwait.
told us that we're
How
going.
long did that take?
A month. I think it was about a month to get over there.
When you use different ports, could you stay very long? Or it's just
Yeah, we were able to get off for like maybe a day, maybe 2 days. I think my first point when we went to Hawaii, we weren't allowed to get off. We were just there real quick to probably get fuel and restock some supplies, and then we're gone again.
What were your conditions like on board ship?
Ship sucks. so our whole platoon gets put into, I think they're called berthings. So basically, you open a big room and there's just, I think, 3 or 4 bunks just stacked up, and it's always hot.
Seasick?
I never did,
Yeah.
but some guys do.
About how many approximately were there of you?
Oh, 25 of us.
That's all?
Yeah, in our platoon.
Oh, but all
Yeah.
together on the ship?
Oh, all together on the ship? Oh, God, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, there's got to be 1,000 people on the ship, I would
That
think.
big?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, you got all of us, and you got tanks, and you have all the infantry on there, and then, artillery's on there, and motor T's on there, and,
Does it look like, I don't know if I've ever seen, does it look like a cargo ship?
Oh, I mean, yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, you could Google it and find out what ship it is. I think.
I was at Del Mar, I worked at the Navy Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just not, well, anyway, that's all beside the point, but I was curious the description of this.
Yeah, it has a small flight deck, they can land helicopters on. But other than that, I mean, I think its main job is just like a transport ship.
Okay, so what are your thoughts about going to Kuwait?
Oh, I mean, I was excited.
Were you?
I think everybody was excited, yeah.
That's what you trained for?
Yeah, that's what you train in I was 20 years old, or I think I turned 21 in Kuwait, so 20 years old. And
was there much communication with home while you're doing all this?
Yeah, I think you're able to email,
Okay, so you.
But of course you can't say, much of anything about where you're going or what you're doing,
Yeah, laying on the beach in Hawaii.
Yeah. Basically, I'm doing fine, and
Fine.
that's about it.
Right. Okay, you arrived in Kuwait. Can you describe that experience of actually getting there, and what did you see?
What I saw when I was getting my vehicle off the ship was, holy cow, these are some nice houses on the beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, I mean, there's, it looks like I don't exactly know where what port we got into on Kuwait. It's a pretty small area, so there's probably pretty limited, but I remember seeing off to my right that there was just like beach houses that, looked like $1 million beach houses.
Here the Marines are landing next to these $1 million beach houses.
I remember there was a bunch of camera crews on the beach, filming us and stuff, news camera crews filming us, driving up on the beach.
Well, actually, that had to be pretty novel, having you guys land there on that beach.
Yeah.
Because that probably had not been done before, probably.
Oh, I'm sure they did it, like during Desert Storm or something, but...
Yeah, kind of a novel.
Yeah,
decision.
probably not something that happens all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you've landed. What's next?
So we went to like a staging area or a base, whatever you want to call it, out in the middle of the desert. And we were probably, I don't know how close we were to the Iraq border, several miles away from the Iraq.
All?
Yeah, from the Iraqi border. So basically we just sat there and we didn't do a heck of a lot. We did a little bit of training, went to some firing ranges and, shot our weapons, basic kind of stuff. But
at that time, did you know that you were going to invade?
Yeah. We were just waiting we knew, everybody knew, we were just waiting for the call on when to actually go. And I think we sat, I can't remember how long we sat there, but we had to have been there for several weeks, just waiting.
Were there a lot of ships coming in, or a few?
I don't know.
Setting up?
I'm sure there was to, get all the equipment and stuff into country for it. There had to have been tons of ships just coming. And there were several of these big bases, all big staging areas. And I remember and I can't remember the name of ours. It was Camp Freedom or something. But I remember we had like 2 Cobras landed right by our vehicles. Oh. And we're like, what the hell are these Cobras landing here for? And the pilot gets out and he coming over to where all our platoon was all staged on a big line. And and he was asking where this other camp was. And I think, kind of lost. And I think, somebody told him, it was like, it's that direction, 20 miles or whatever. Got in his helo again, and lifted off and took off. So
that's surreal.
It was kind of funny at the time.
I think a little embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, it might have been for him. Yeah.
What were your living conditions like? Tents or what?
No, we slept on our vehicles.
How do you do that?
Oh, they have. I mean, of course, when you join the military, I'm sure it's the same for anybody in the military. You could sleep wherever. You can lay down on the ground and just fall asleep. But like our vehicles had there's 3 big benches, big long benches, because our vehicles are meant to transport infantry. So you slept on those, or you slept on top of the vehicle. I remember that it was really, really cold at night when we were there, so everybody slept inside the vehicle, so stay warm.
But enough room.
Yeah, because we only had a crew of. On my vehicle, it was a crew of. There was 4 of us on the vehicle, and the infantry didn't sleep on it. They went, and slept someplace else.
And as far as food, MREs?
MREs mostly. I think they had like a little chow hall set up, but I don't think most of us didn't even go to it because it was such a far walk. I think they stuck us clear out on the edge of this base on purpose. So it's like nobody wants to walk, a quarter of a mile to the chow hall to eat kind of gross food anyway. So you kind of just ate MREs.
Did you see any of the natives at all?
Yeah, if we left to go like to a firing range or something, we would see,
Close up?
Yeah, I mean, fairly. I mean, you drive by them.
Any kind of reception, wave,
no.
Nothing?
No, I don't remember anything.
Okay.
They're Kuwaitis, so I'm sure they're probably not. I'm sure maybe there's some that don't like us, but we kind of saved their butts, so I would think that most of them would be.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward, that day has come.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
It started early morning. It was still dark when we left, and of course we had everybody loaded up in the vehicles. And
were you excited?
Excited and nervous, because I think everybody's going to have some nerves.
Adrenaline.
Yeah, and at the time I was the rear crewman, so I was sitting in the back with all the infantry, and it's dark inside. The hatches are closed on our vehicle, so we can't see. Couldn't see out.
I'm sorry, what kind of a vehicle were you in?
So that's with that amphibious assault vehicle.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, can't see anything. You don't really know where you're going. You're just in the back of this big noisy thing driving along.
You could not see. How you couldn't see anything?
Because we had everything all closed up.
Okay.
And at the time, I mean, eventually, I think later in the day, we opened up the back hatches so we could actually look out and see what was going on.
So you take off. A lot of you taking off.
Oh yeah.
Going north.
Yep.
What kind of condition? Roads?
Yeah, I mean roads. It's flat, so really you could drive, wherever. But we mainly stayed on roads.
You went straight north.
Yeah, we went to. I want to say the place that we went to was called Umm Qasr, so which is right by the border with Kuwait, and our job there was went there. We kind of held this little port area for a little while. Obviously, like the main force was pushing north fast. I think that was I think there was Task Force Tarawa or something.
And these are all Marines.
Yeah, and they were kind of doing their blitzkrieg thing, that they were pushing fast to Baghdad, and that wasn't our job. Was we kind of hung back.
To do what now?
So I think we were just, I don't know if we were mopping up resistance, or I was young, stupid PFC, so I was kind of low on the totem pole on information on what was going on. So
information as needed.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, what I remember, like the first day was we crossed the border and it got light, and so we opened up the hatches, and the infantry had all dismounted because there was a bunch of trenches and fighting positions from the Iraqi army had all these trenches and fighting positions. So I remember the infantry was out there going through clearing these trenches out, and they had gotten into a little small firefights.
Well, they were waiting for you?
So the Iraqis? Yeah. Not very many.
Yeah.
But I remember looking over at down this road, and I see a big formation of people. And at first I was like, well, boy, that's weird. At first I thought it was Marines marching down this road in formation. I'm like, well, what the hell? Why the hell are they marching down this road in formation? Well, as they get closer, it's a whole bunch of Iraqi military people surrendering.
Like in the movie, like hands up, white flag, or just walking?
Just walking.
Lots of them?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it had to have been like a company's worth.
Huh.
And
were the military, our military with them, or they were just on their own?
They were just, at first they were just on their own marching towards our position. And
what happened to them?
So we, obviously the infantry went over there and rounded them all up, and
it's like, this is too easy.
Yeah, it was really strange because I don't think anybody was prepared for that. But
they just didn't want to fight.
From what I understand, and this is kind of hearsay, and I don't know if this is exactly what it was that they had expected the Marines to land in Qasr, which had a port, and we kind of came in behind them a little bit, and so we found like a bunch of their artillery and stuff was all facing towards this area, and that they had dropped these guys off, didn't give them any food, didn't give them any water, and said, hey, when the Marines come or the U.S. comes, you fire. Yeah, your job is to hold the position or, fire artillery at them. But, I think obviously they didn't really have much will to fight too much. They kind of got overwhelmed, pretty quick.
For sure.
So,
I mean, just seeing this military machine coming at you would be a little intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, when you had tanks coming in, and we had tanks with us, you had helicopters flying over, all of our 13 vehicles coming, which are almost the size of a tank, itself. I'm sure it's got to be really intimidating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what would you do? Would there be holding areas for these people?
I assume. I mean, that's some, as far as I know, they processed them, probably searched them for weapons and, got what information they could, and then probably sent them back to some holding area where, somebody else could, process them and do whatever they did with them. I don't.
So you're in, does it seem surreal that you are actually inside Iraq?
Yeah, at that time, yeah.
It must seem surreal.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
What literally did you see? Just barren sand?
Where we were at was, for probably the first week or so, was just pretty flat, desert. You'd have a little few buildings here and there.
People living in them.
People living in them. Goat herders or, people with camels and stuff living in them.
Did it seem like ancient biblical times to you?
No, not really. You could tell that there was some technology and stuff. We were really only there not a long time, and then we moved into I don't know if it was a naval, kind of like a naval base or a police station or something, and we went there and held that area for quite a while. Of course, me, it always kind of sucked. I was always in the back, and so I didn't get to see a whole heck of a lot of what was going on until we stopped somewhere, and then pop up, and it's like, oh, where are we? How did we get here?
It must be Iraq.
Yeah. But I mean, most of that stuff that I remember from the first month or so was just pretty barren, run down buildings and stuff, and not a lot of people around.
Any opposition as you go?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not
Were
really.
you hearing any stories, any communication from the others that was going on?
Yeah. I mean, we get little bits and pieces of information. We were moving our way towards Nasiriyah, which was a pretty big town, and we got bits of information about, I think one of the AAVs they got into some pretty big firefights when they were there. So
what did they tell you the mission was?
Well, our mission, it was so, by the time it broke down to the information that we got was like, hey, we're going to this area, and we're going to set up a perimeter, and we're going to hold this area until we get told to move.
But
And
nothing
like on a
big picture.
No big picture. Not that I know. I mean, obviously being about as low on the totem pole as you can get, you didn't get a whole heck of a lot of information. I'm sure.
It's a need not to know.
Right.
Well, what did you think the mission was
Going in, I was like, probably like everybody, is like, find anybody in the Iraqi army and kill them. Or anybody that shoots at you,
As a aim to shoot them.
Yeah, but we saw tons and I think when we first crossed over the border, we saw tons of Iraqi uniforms and stuff. So I think those guys were probably ripping off their uniforms about as fast as could be and trying to blend in with the population. I'm sure there's some that wanted to fight, but I don't think too many of them actually stayed in uniform to do any fighting. I think they were, if they could blend in the population pretty easy and maybe take some pot shots at us and then, run away is probably the best tactic they had.
So maybe it really wasn't a united front because they had factions, different tribes.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they have, you got Shiites and Sunnis and then probably different little families within that, they had the Ba'ath Party, and I'm sure there was some of the Republican Guard. You hear all the names and stuff, but I don't know, not where I was at. That was probably more concentrated like in Baghdad and some of the bigger cities where some of that was.
Well, by that time it had been 9/11, so we're pretty much all of you pretty gung-ho, like, man, this is what they did to America.
Oh, yeah.
You're very...
Yeah.
Did you... This is going to be a trick question, Lance. Do you believe that there were weapons of mass destruction in the country?
At the time, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there was,
Yeah. No reason not to.
No reason not to believe that there was. I remember several times that when we were in Kuwait that we had Scud missile warnings, and I can't remember if they actually even fired any or not, but you'd get the warning, and so we'd all have to put gas masks on, and you're just kind of sitting waiting to see if it hit close to you and stuff. But at the time, I had no reason to not believe that there was.
Right. And to fast forward to this day, do you still think there were?
Personally, yes, I do. Yeah. I mean, as crazy as Saddam Hussein was, he used chemical weapons on the Kurds,
Right.
I would
Had
think.
you heard about that by the time you got into Iraq?
About
the Kurds?
Oh, I don't remember. Oh, about them being gassed and stuff? Oh, yeah, I think that happened, that probably had happened for years prior to it.
That's right.
So, yeah, I think I was aware that kind of stuff had been going on.
Did you at the time think it probably was going to be a short war? Not having the crystal ball.
No, I don't think so.
You thought it would be
I thought it was going to be, definitely longer than like Desert Storm was. But
just because why?
Well, yeah, because I think Desert Storm was just kind of a get Iraqi army out of Kuwait, and then, you know, they didn't pursue them. But this seemed like something a little bit different. You know, obviously nobody, I don't think, I didn't imagine that it had lasted as long as it has, but I didn't think it was going to be something short that we just went in for, you know, a month or two and you're done.
Yeah. Did you know how long you were going to be there?
No.
They wouldn't, could they? Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, with a MU, you have like a normal rotation. Deployment is like 6-month deployment, but obviously, you know, there was no word yet that, you know, this is the day that we're leaving. I think we actually got extended, you know, several months. We were in there longer than what we were supposed to.
Which you probably expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you stayed at one place for just a short amount of time, and then you kept moving north?
Yeah, we kept moving north. We went to Nasiriyah, and we were in Nasiriyah for a little while, and then we moved to, and that was the, I first remember going to like Nasiriyah because that was right, we heard about like the Jessica Lynch.
Oh, right.
And so that we were there like around this, right at the same time. So I remember we went and they said, we're going to go to this police station and we're just going to blow the crap out of this police station. And we're like, oh, okay. You know, there wasn't anybody in the police station. But what it was for, from my understanding, it was a distraction because they went in and to the hospital and rescued Jessica Lynch that night.
Was that in Nasiriyah?
Mm-hmm.
That was there?
Yeah.
Oh, you were there at the same time?
Yeah, we actually went in and secured the hospital after they got her out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, our vehicles parked all around the perimeter of that hospital.
And it was the Special Forces that went in.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing.
Yeah.
What was it? Their vehicle got sidetracked, got lost?
I think she was like in a motor T convoy, and I don't know if a couple of the vehicles had taken a wrong turn, and so they got attacked or ambushed. And
that was a heck of a story.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Story.
Yeah.
Just on a side note, do you know if she immediately was sent home? Do you remember?
After they rescued her, I assume. Yeah. I don't know if they sent her maybe to a hospital or something. I'm sure maybe, but.
So you secured that area then?
Yep. So we stayed there for a few days.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you're part of history, Lance.
My small little tiny piece of it.
No, I mean, this is going to be, it is in the history books already, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
It was pretty crazy because I remember the only really memories I have, I never got to go inside the hospital or anything, but from talking to some of the guys that had gone into the hospital, they said it was, you know, pretty disgusting. They went down like into the morgue and stuff. There was like no refrigeration, just dead bodies everywhere. But I remember looking out in the area that we were looking at, and I remember seeing a guy that looked Caucasian wearing a baseball cap. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, that guy's got to be like CIA or some secret squirrel kind of guy, just walking around the town, just by himself and stuff.
Himself?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
No kidding.
But I never found out, you know, who it was. But that was just a memory that I always had of it.
Yeah,
so.
No that was a port town, is that correct?
No.
Oh, it wasn't?
No. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought the British had secured that area at one point.
Possibly.
Yeah. But anyway, so then you're going on north then.
Yep. So basically, after that, we just went north of Nasiriyah a little ways to like the main highway that came into Nasiriyah, and we set up a big perimeter, and basically just held that area down. And that's about the extent of what we did. And like I was showing you those pictures and stuff, and that's where those pictures came from, was from that area. Yeah.
So let's see, you're securing the area because in case of what?
So I'm sure they were probably, I don't know if they were worried about fighters moving back into the town, because I think they, you know, probably had thought they'd cleared most of them out. And I don't know if they were, I don't know at the time if they were worried about Iraqi military or they were worried about foreign fighters or, you know. But that's what our main job was. You know, there's this main highway. We had a checkpoint set up, and we would stop and search vehicles. And
wasn't that nerve-wracking?
Oh, at times. I remember one time that was pretty nerve-wracking. Is that a car had come through, and it was me and a couple of my buddies were manning the checkpoint, and all of a sudden, all these people get out and like started screaming and stuff. And of course, you know, we're like, what the hell is going on? And what it was that somebody had died, and they actually had the body in a casket on top of one of the cars, and unless their family members or something must have got out. But you know, that was kind of
just kind
for
of
a few seconds it was like, you know, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah,
but
yeah. Did you ever engage the natives? Did you have an interpreter? Did you
we had contact like every day with them. We'd buy soda off of them and bread off of them.
Did you trust the situation?
Yeah. I think after a little while they're like said like don't buy soda because they were worried that they were poisoning it because they all come in glass bottles. And you'd, you know, drink the soda and then you'd give it back to them. And so I think they were afraid that they were going to poison, you know, sodas. But
how did it taste?
It tastes better than drinking nasty water. I think at that point we didn't really care. We just wanted something different besides MREs and, you know.
Sure.
But
did they receive you pretty well? Were they pretty friendly?
I wouldn't say friendly. I would think they were probably just cautious, and they kind of just kept to themselves and just wanted to get, you know, where they were going. Not all, you know, you'd talk to them a little bit or try to talk to them a little bit, but you know, there's such a language.
Did they know any? Yeah. Not much English.
Yeah, it was such a language barrier and stuff. So.
Yeah. I can't imagine this is probably the first time they ever have seen an American Marine.
Probably a lot, for a lot of them
coming through their land. So you eventually did get up to Baghdad.
No, that's on that deployment. That was basically as far north as we'd went.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was constant securing. And, so Saddam was still in his palace this whole time, securing the area in Baghdad.
Yeah, or I don't know at that time if he was in hiding. I can't remember exactly when they actually captured him. But
because I remember watching you guys on TV. It was March of 2003.
That's when we went in. Yeah.
When you went in,
Yep.
That was quite like almost another 9/11. It was fascinating.
Yeah. I'm sure probably the news coverage is probably pretty crazy.
Oh, it was nonstop.
Crazy about it, yeah.
It was almost surreal.
Yeah.
Like, wow, there they go.
I know my mom or one of my mom's friends saved like a bunch of the news weeks, and I have them at home, like all during that time, you know.
Absolutely.
Just because there's probably a lot of stuff that I never saw that's in those things.
Speaking of home, any communication during that time?
No.
Not really.
No.
Everything's just fine.
Yep. I didn't talk to my mom until we had gone back to Kuwait, and that was the first time in, you know, months. Yeah. I don't think I really at the time I didn't really send any letters or anything. I don't know if it was, I'm sure everything was kind of slow, and probably that letters and that kind of stuff was probably on the back burner of the logistics that they needed to be, you know, the military needed to be moving and stuff. But I always remembered that I never did a whole lot of communicating, you know, like that.
Kind of typical. As far as cleaning up, showers.
Yeah, we didn't, nothing.
That would be hell.
It was pretty horrible. Of course, we were wearing MOPP suits almost the whole time, as you know, your chemical suit, you know, and so they're thick and and hot and heavy.
And how hot was it?
Oh, I don't know for sure, but I mean, over 100 degrees.
Typical day.
Oh yeah, just yeah.
Did you? I mean, was a little bit cool at night to sleep?
I think not at that time. Because that time it had probably gone into, you know.
Summer months.
Yeah, summer months. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really remember it cooling off at that point very much. Yeah. And you're just always hot and sweaty.
Yeah, and what was
smelly.
Everybody smelled together.
Yeah.
So how long were your days? Any day.
Like a typical day there. Oh, I mean, at that point, I mean, pretty much sun up to sundown. I know we didn't really do anything at night as far as operations or anything like that. I remember a few times during the day that we would go with the infantry or maybe EOD guys, and I know that they had a whole bunch of munitions, and we'd go and blow up some munitions and, you know, stuff like that. But pretty much it was man your vehicle, and, you know, you got this shift to sit in the turret, and when your shift's over, somebody else, you go and try to sleep.
But you never really knew from one day to the next, though.
What you were going to do?
What could happen.
Yeah, no.
And were there any major skirmishes?
Not when we were. No.
That's good.
Yeah, we always got pretty lucky.
That's good.
We didn't lose. I don't think my first deployment.
That's
out of our platoon. I don't think the infantry lost anybody either.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I take that back. One person got killed that I remember, but that was it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Completed the one tour. You didn't get way north. So how many months was that then?
When did we get out of there? God, I couldn't even remember. In June, maybe.
So from about March to June.
Yeah.
And then you came back to what, Camp Pendleton?
Yep. So, went back to Camp Pendleton, and from there, I think I went right into another platoon that was getting ready to do workups and get ready to deploy again. I think I had maybe 8 or 9 months, I think, before I deployed again.
Did you get leave time to go home?
Yeah.
What was your family thinking all this time? They had to be pretty nervous.
Oh, I'm sure they were probably pretty nervous.
Glad to see you home.
I'm sure, I'm pretty glad.
But then right back again.
Yep.
Same route, same ship.
Different ship, but
same type. Same route.
Yep.
A month.
Yep.
Back to Kuwait.
Yeah. And so we went into Kuwait, and from there they loaded our vehicles onto, semi trucks. And they hauled us then we went to Najaf.
Okay, now this is going into 2004.
That's 2004, yeah.
Okay, so tell me what's going on over there in 2004. Hot and heavy?
Yeah, I think stuff was
picking up.
Yeah. I think when I was in Najaf, obviously the Iraqi army, I think, was pretty much, I don't know, I wouldn't say wiped out, but probably disbanded, and you had everybody fighting in militias and stuff like that. I think when we were in Najaf, the main.
Now, by the way, where is that still southern Iraq?
I think Najaf is more central Iraq. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you ever look, Najaf is a crazy, crazy place. It's like one of the biggest cemeteries obviously in Iraq.
Did you describe that?
Yeah.
Miles? Would you explain that, describe that?
So basically it's just almost as far as you could see of just huge, anywhere from basic small gravestones to these real big elaborate, I think they're called catacombs and stuff. And just, as far as just streets through them every which way, and it's just a crazy
miles.
Yeah, just a crazy thing to see and to look at.
Would that have been maybe 1,000 years?
It had, yeah. I mean, there has to be like some really, from what my understanding is, and is it's one of the holiest sites.
Burial grounds?
Yeah, yeah. In Islam, and the holy Islam religion or something. I think it's probably an honor or something to be buried, in the cemetery.
And they're still being buried there.
I imagine it probably is. Yeah.
But what did you see, like mounds, mostly mounds?
No, they were like all brick, pretty sophisticated, fancy. Some of them there's doors on them and you could walk down into them.
Wow.
And
Man, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Was it outside of a town?
Yeah, Najaf's a pretty big, fairly large town, and so it does lie kind of like right on the edge of the town, and I think the town kind of goes on 2 or 3 sides of it, and then back to one side it's pretty much just open desert, nothing there.
Well, they have lots of space to bury.
Yeah, they have room to expand.
You had never seen anything like this in your travels?
No, I didn't even know anything like that ever even existed.
Did you take pictures of that?
I did, yeah. I don't think I have any. And that was, at that time, it was probably the switch between, regular film to digital or something, so.
Right, I have to Google that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so did you stay there for a while then?
Yeah, we were in that town, almost the whole time.
And same operation, same assignment?
So that town, I mean, that's, from my experience, that's like the heaviest fighting that we had. I mean, we had a lot of fighting in that town.
Why?
So, was it the Mahdi militia was there, and that's who we were fiighting.
Mahdi. Are they the special forces of them?
No, it was just like a militia. It was led by, I don't want to say the wrong name of who it was, but I don't know if he was a cleric or something, but he had his own militia, and they were
his own.
Yeah, and they were
under
there.
Saddam.
I don't think they were under Saddam. At that time, I think by 2004, I'm sure Saddam was probably on the run or captured, and so I doubt he was calling any of the shots on anything that was going on. But
he had his own militia fighting you guys.
Yep.
Was it daily or daily?
Yeah.
Could you expand
So,
how that, what was that like?
We got there and we actually were staying. This is the first time we actually stayed in kind of like a little, I don't know if you'd call it, Marines call it a COP or a combat outpost or some small little base and stuff. But our first assignment is we were like QRF, so a quick reaction force. So if anybody was, if there was any infantry out in the town doing any patrols or something, and then they got into trouble, they could call us up and we'd have 3 vehicles ready to go to pick them up and stuff. But I remember we actually had a helicopter shot down, and we had to go out and secure the helicopter. But yeah, I mean, we got into some serious fighting.
Where were they getting all of their weapons and ammunition? Do you have any idea?
No.
I'm
sure they'd probably have had that stuff stored up for such a long time.
They actually thought they could win this. They could win this thing and fight you. Obviously.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean, maybe they looked at Afghanis and saw that Afghanis, kind of kicked Russia's butt and figured that,
Good point.
And it was kind of like, they obviously they have way different tactics that, they're guerrilla tactics and,
Were they good fighters?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they always say like the dumb ones get killed pretty quick, so the ones that survive are, you're gonna be pretty seasoned and getting smarter and stuff. And
there's probably truth to that.
Yeah.
Did you hear any rumblings about the Iranians coming across and being involved?
Not Iranians, but I remember somebody saying about they captured somebody and they had a Syrian accent.
Okay.
So, but that kind of stuff wasn't, I maybe I was aware of it, but didn't really matter to me at the time.
How about, okay, so when did the ISIS actually come in?
Into Iraq?
Yeah, was that like on their third tour? Or were they always there?
I'm not sure. I don't know they might have been way up north or something, but I think that was probably pretty late when they were getting formed, because, probably not when I was there.
Exactly.
I mean, I think we were fighting, like, the Mahdi militias who we were fighting. And
the militia?
Yeah.
Are you saying a Mahdi?
Mahdi. I believe it's MADR. Don't quote me.
Okay,
I think.
Google that, just to be sure. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
So almost daily?
Yeah. Yep.
What was the end? Were you getting a lot of casualties from them? I mean,
we were
succeeding?
Yeah, I think we were really knocking the crap out of them. I know our company infantry took quite a few casualties, and I know of a couple guys that were killed in the fighting.
Were you ever injured, Lance?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I remember I was kind of still young and stupid at the time, but I remember we were driving up this road and we're going into fight, and I'm standing up out of my turret, talking and stuff, and all of a sudden we get mortars that started dropping just like right in front of my vehicle. And I just jokingly said to like my driver and stuff, it's like, well, shit, I better get down and close the hatch before I, yeah. But that, I remember, we'd come back and we'd have bullets stuck in the front of our vehicle because, we'd have snipers shooting at us and stuff. And
did you think you were going to get home?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You were that confident?
Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
Man.
I didn't get worried about that kind of stuff till like my last deployment.
Okay, we'll move on. Okay, the second one, how long were you there?
Oh, I think that one was actually, I went home early off that deployment because my wife.
You had gotten married?
Yep, I'd gotten married between my first deployment. I wasn't married on my first deployment. Mm-hmm. So I think in between my first and second deployment, I'd gotten married. Mm-hmm. So my wife was pregnant, and my son wasn't born yet. They were having complications with him and stuff. So I actually went home early, and something that I will always regret, forever, is leaving early, because my platoon that I was with, after I left, they had gone into Fallujah, and were in the second battle of Fallujah. And I always felt guilty about leaving.
But you at the time had very good reasons to go home.
Yeah.
And everybody understood that.
I hope so.
Certainly so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I even told, I remember when the platoon came home, because I was at Camp Pendleton. I remember telling my platoon sergeant, and it was Gunnery Sergeant Wynn, that I had a lot of respect for, and I had apologized to him and said that I was sorry that,
But he got it.
Yeah. He said he was, yeah.
Oh, well, just on a side note, what is your wife's name?
Heather.
Son? Heather.
Yep.
And the son was
Corbin.
born okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, everything worked out good. So.
And what's his name?
Corbin.
Yeah. Okay, well that's good news. So they went into Fallujah.
Yeah.
Was that the first?
That was the second.
Second invasion. That was a heavy hitter, right?
Yeah.
Lots of casualties.
Lots
on
of
that one. Yeah. Were there buddies that you knew that went in on that one?
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew everybody in the whole platoon had gone into that. Yeah. So, and it was kind of just rolling, from heavy fighting in Najaf. And I remember we had a ceasefire in Najaf, which really, really pissed me off, because I remember the day they called a ceasefire that I saw these fighters grabbing weapons and stuff and loading them into a van and taking off, and that we couldn't do anything about it because they'd called a ceasefire. And I always remember that. It really pissed me off.
Yeah.
So
just part of war,
yeah.
Isn't it? It sure is. Not a perfect.
No.
It's never perfect.
No.
Yeah. But so man.
So I was home after that.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, no kidding. But boy, casualties tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Okay, then you're back again after how many months then?
So, well, I actually had I didn't go back to my last deployment till 2007. So I was back at Camp Pendleton. I remember I tried to go back a couple times, and however, it just didn't work out that I didn't get put into the platoon to go.
Were you wanting to go back again?
Yeah.
You really?
Actually, I was wanting to go to Afghanistan.
Oh.
Yeah. But never happened. So I remember I was back at Camp Pendleton. I worked in the armory for a couple years there, and then finally had the opportunity to get into another platoon that was deploying in 2007.
Lance, 3 tours of this stuff. That's just gotta be heavy. That's just gotta.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I don't know if it was kind of like bragging rights, you know. I knew that there were some of the infantry guys that had, you know, of course our jobs are quite a bit different, you know, but I know some of the infantry guys had said they'd been on like 5 deployments. I was like, damn, you know, I want to get a couple more, but but at that time I was kind of, I remember feeling like on my last deployment that I was more cautious and thinking to myself, I was like, you know, I've been really lucky. You know, nothing's really happened to anybody in our platoon. I think we had a couple guys get, my second deployment, get, you know, shrapnel wounds or something, but nobody died. You know, obviously
starting to press the
the infantry, they had, you know, they got quite a few casualties in Najaf, but yeah, maybe my luck is one of these days is gonna run out.
3 times.
You know, I have one son, you know, already, and can't remember. That's 2007. I think Heather is pregnant again with my second son. Yeah, so.
And your second son's name is?
Connor.
Connor.
Yeah.
Corbin Connor, okay. Well, you knew what you were going to get into going back the 3rd time.
Yeah. And war had changed quite a bit. I always describe like my first and second deployment as kind of like the Wild Wild West. You know, early stages of the war, you know, kind of a lot of fighting and stuff. And it seemed like my last deployment had really shifted. There was a lot more, you know, you had a lot of rules of engagement, and I remember some of them just really kind of pissed me off. That I thought our hands were tied a little bit.
Was the morale down?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think the morale had really changed overall. I'm sure there's probably some guys that probably don't want to be there, or maybe just waiting out there.
Was there a reduced amount over there?
At that time? I can't remember. I don't think so. I think the surge happened in 2004 is when they really put a lot of troops in. 2007, I can't remember. I don't think they'd really started drawing down troops yet. But
and when you went back over, were you on your own, or did you go with a group?
I went with a platoon again.
Again,
Yep, same platoon of AAVs again.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And then where did you go into?
So that's when we were kind of in between Fallujah and Baghdad. We're kind of in like a little agricultural area.
What did it look like?
It was a lot of deserts, but then there was like little patches of green, and you know there was kind of like a few little small markets and stuff. So it was a little bit different.
Did it look like war had been there?
No, I mean there wasn't a bunch of bombed out
Nothing.
stuff. No.
And what was your mission on the 3rd?
So our mission on that time was, I think, just to there was a small dam that right where our base was, and I think we're trying to protect infrastructure there and just kind of give some stability to the area. The fighting had really changed. So it went from, you know, firefights to really shifted to IEDs.
To what?
IEDs.
Oh, IEDs,
Yeah.
Yes. Those are really bad.
Yeah, super bad.
Yeah.
That's like the thing that I would hate the most about all that is our platoon got hit pretty bad.
Yours did?
Yeah, my vehicle got hit, and then we had two other vehicles in my platoon that hit IEDs.
Could you Would you mind describing what that was like to get hit?
Crazy. It's
What-
really, really crazy. I remember the first day we were there, we'd stayed in Fallujah for just a little while, just probably prepping to go into this, our area of responsibility or whatever you want to call it. And the first day that we drove there, we were finding IEDs on this road. Like the first, as soon as we got there. I was like, it's kind of crazy. But I remember like the IED that I hit was actually really smart on the enemy's part, because what had happened was we were working with the Army, and if you ever seen like the Army, their minesweeper vehicles, and they have their, I think it's called a Buffalo, that's got a big digger arm on it, and they were driving down this road scanning for IEDs, and we had a tank, 2 tanks on their flank, was kind of driving through these fields and desert, just we were providing security for them. And then we had my section of vehicles, so I had 3 vehicles. I was on the right side of the road, another guy was on the left side of the road, and the last vehicle was on the road in the back. And I remember, if you see power lines and stuff in Iraq, it's nothing like sophisticated like we have. So their power lines hang way low to the pole, go up the pole, and the tank is quite a bit shorter than our vehicles, so they could drive right underneath this lowest spot. Well, my vehicle had to go closer to the pole where the wires was higher to go underneath it, and right as soon as we went underneath that wire is right where we hit an IED.
Okay, what's that like?
It's like getting the reset button hitting on you. That's what it felt like to me. Because
a jolt?
just like a sudden shock, because I was mid-sentence talking to the vehicle that was behind me, had called me, because I was the section leader at that time. No longer was I rear crewman, I was in charge of these 3 vehicles. It was my section. So he had called me up, and I think I was a sergeant at the time, and said, I see a truck, off in this field, kind of paralleling us, and they're shooting mortars at us. And I remember hearing mortars hit behind us, they're trying to, probably walk mortars into us. And like mid-sentence, I was talking to them, and boom, I got hit this IED.
Is it underneath?
Yeah,
Underneath.
just drove over it.
And what is it, an explosive?
Yeah, just explosive.
What
And
does it look like?
Well, there's so many different kinds of, and I don't know exactly the kind that I hit. I assume or I'm pretty sure it was a pressure plate one. So, they have 2 contacts, you drive over it, and then they make contact and they blow up. Obviously they have command detonated, so there's like a wire or receive like a radio signal, and somebody's actually watching, and they'll set it off. So
What kind of damage did it do? Did you get
destroyed my vehicle.
What
Yeah,
happened to you?
I didn't get hurt at all.
Oh.
My driver got hurt. I remember he smashed, when we hit, and it lifted my vehicle, off the ground. It wiped out, all my radios were like beeping, if they start beeping and stuff when they, and so it took me a couple seconds, because I'm like, what the hell? There's dust everywhere, and I remember I looked down behind me, because I was in the turret. I looked down behind me to all the guys in the back, and I, holler. I was like, is everybody okay? There was maybe 10 guys in the back.
Wow.
Yeah. Made sure they were all okay. And then my driver was like, got out, and he was like standing on top of the vehicle. And so I get up and I holler at him. I grab a hold of him. I was like, get down before you get shot. Standing up here on top of this vehicle. He'd smashed his face and, was kind of cut up. So I got him down off the vehicle, and I was sitting right behind the vehicle. And the infantry had all gotten out, and they kind of set up, it's kind of standard, you get out and you set up a perimeter around this vehicle, because, we got hit. It wasn't on fire yet.
Typical, what will happen?
I think it probably depends. The other two that got hit never caught on fire. So I was sitting there kind of taking care of him, getting some bandages and stuff on his face. And the Army guys that were on the road, I remember hearing one of them yell at me that there's another IED right next to my vehicle, and they said, get the hell out of there because that one will kill, it's a big one that's going to kill all you.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember hollering at all the infantry, I'm like, hey, you know, get out of here. You know, at that time I think my vehicle had caught on fire and it started to burn. Of course I had, you know, probably 20,000 rounds of ammunition and stuff inside of it, and, you know, everything. And I remember my crewman, I told him, I was like, you know, there's external fire extinguisher handles on our vehicles. I was like, you know, pop those handles, try to get the fire out. I know the first sergeant for the infantry, he'd come down to my vehicle because we weren't we might have been from here to the other house off the road, you know, not too far. And I was helping him we were throwing gear out of the vehicle because we had all of our packs in it, you know, weapons in it and all this stuff. And the flames started getting bigger and bigger, and so I finally told him, I was like, you know, get out before rounds start cooking off and stuff, and just let the thing burn. So got everybody, you know, taken back. My driver wasn't hurt too bad. You know, I can't remember if they medevaced him then or they waited because his injuries weren't terrible.
It's a miracle, not more injuries.
Yeah, well, there's two EOD guys died. So after, I think pretty much my vehicle had burnt to the ground. I think I showed you pictures of it. I mean, it's aluminum, and so it basically just folded in on itself. And we kind of sat there for a little bit, just, you know, posting up security around it. And the two EOD guys, I don't know, they were looking at that second IED, and I know they were using a robot, and I don't know exactly the circumstances of what happened. What I heard was the robot got stuck, and so they walked down to the vehicle to get the robot unstuck, and that second IED went off, and, you know, instantly killed them.
Two of them.
Yeah. And so
Tragic.
yeah.
Wow.
We sat there. I mean, it seemed like forever that we sat there. I jumped into another vehicle, and I remember that time was probably the most scared I've been, because we jumped into a vehicle and kept going, and I know, like, we went down the road like 100 yards and found another IED. It was just
what happened? I mean, you found it, but it didn't go off.
That one didn't go off. I mean, we found it. Obviously, we found it before it went off. And so when stuff like that happens, you know, we go in there and they'll blow it up, you know, but it just seemed like...
Doesn't that just make you, once it happens, so skittish from then on?
Yeah.
I mean, do you really get used to that?
Those I never really got used to. I think I was a lot more aware, a lot more cautious after that. Up until that point, IEDs, you know, I think they were there in Iraq, but the places that I were, maybe they weren't heavily used. I remember when I was in Najaf that we found IEDs and they were like hooked up to car batteries or whatever. Well, they just cut the wires on the car battery, or, you know, and just like whatever, and just leave it, you know. And, you know, it wasn't a big of a deal as, you know, calling EOD in and having them come and blow it up and stuff like that. And
well, was it just their type of warfare to harass you?
Yeah.
Lots of harassment.
Yeah, I mean, it was effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
I think my vehicle was the second vehicle got hit. The first one that got hit, I don't think it did a lot of damage to it. Then my vehicle got hit, and then I remember we were going up to like this big berm, and there was Marines sweeping with their little minesweepers or metal detectors, sweeping the ground. And I remember it was me and this other staff sergeant were ground guiding this vehicle. So basically you're walking on the ground and you're, you know, telling the vehicle which way to go. And that vehicle drove over an IED. And we were pretty close to it. Knocked both of us down. But luckily, I think all of it was from whatever they made it out of, it didn't really cause any damage. It just kind of, peppered us with rocks and stuff like that. But
how far along were you into your tour when that happened? Your third tour?
Oh, that I don't know, maybe midway.
Yeah.
I mean, we were there, as far as I remember, a long time after that. So.
But you're just expected to just keep on keeping on.
Yep.
Get up another day.
Yep.
Just fast forward just a little bit. Do loud noises and things like that today kind of have a flash?
Not anymore. They did for a while, but not anymore. Yeah. Good thing I'm hard of hearing a little bit, so it doesn't bother me.
Would that be maybe a result of all the noise?
No, probably. I mean, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
Just the vehicles are super loud, and when you're in the turret, you have a 50 cal machine gun here and a 40 millimeter grenade launcher here, and you're shooting them, and
absolutely. War's noisy.
Yeah.
How about your back and things like that? I mean, I would think the jarring inside those.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard on anybody's body.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But luckily, you're, pretty young, so you can take a little bit more wear and tear.
A little more shock.
Luckily, I wasn't in the infantry, and so I got to drive around everywhere and didn't have to carry everything all the time. So, which was nice.
Oh, no kidding. But you got through that, and did it take them long to put those things, plant those things? It's very easy to do.
I think most of those are pretty easy. Dig a hole and drop them in, and
are they out there somewhere watching all this?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure some of them are. I remember there was like a little market, and the market was pretty much closed down. There wasn't any shops or anything open. And I remember one of the Marines in our unit had found like a flyer or something posted up on the wall, and I guess it looked, something that was fairly new. And so he took it, and I don't know if he took it for a souvenir or he thought maybe get an interpreter to read this and find out what it was. But basically it was, I don't know if it was like a recruiting letter trying to get people to fight us, but, it said on there that, that we've already destroyed, several of their vehicles and, this and that and stuff. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
But, I mean, really, you never, as far as like firefights, I think 2 people got shot while we were there, and I think both of them survived.
That's good.
One guy stepped on an IED, and it didn't kill him, but I think he got blinded from it. Yeah. But IEDs are horrible things.
Joey Jones, I think he's on TV a lot. He lost both legs. He's very, very smart. Marine.
Yeah.
He's done a lot as a contributor. And what a spirit he's got in spite of his...
Yeah.
What was he? Bomb?
It's an EOD, explosive ordnance?
He put those together.
Okay, yeah.
Bomb ordnance.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Well, okay, so at that point, what are you thinking about the whole war at that point, on that third tour, after this happens?
I think that tour, I was kind of getting over it, because what it seemed like to me was, we're driving around, and we're just driving around waiting to get hit by an IED, and it didn't seem like much fun anymore. We would go on patrol.
Were you accomplishing a mission? I mean, I'm talking about the troops. I'm talking about Americans.
Overall?
Yes,
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, I think, our job was to, like, stabilize the area and try to weed out all these people
and
that were there.
And I didn't mean that negatively. It was just a question.
Yeah.
That you felt confident that the mission was being accomplished. Like you say, you're weeding them out. Saddam is gone.
Yeah, but yeah.
And you're feeling, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you see kind of like a turn in the country?
Oh, no. No, to me, my thought, my thought is like Iraq's always going to be Iraq, and I don't think is however much influence you know, westernized influence you could put on Iraq is going to change Iraq.
Can't do nation building.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I'm sure there's a lot of people way smarter than me that, you know, I'm sure would have a different opinion about it. But
well, you were on the ground, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was a huge accomplishment for Saddam to be gone. But do you know the replacements, the leadership?
Well,
you were on your third tour, what was going on?
I mean, I probably didn't know exactly who it was.
Yeah.
That was I don't know if did they have like an interim president or something there.
Right.
But, I mean, could you ever really trust?
Yeah.
That's just me personally, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's a good answer. Well, you are winding it down then, and did you spend much time in Baghdad?
Nope. We never even made it to.
You did
I
not
never
get
even
it.
made it Baghdad.
Yeah,
Nope.
Did maybe I asked you before? Did you see Babylon?
Yes.
Describe that. Describe Babylon.
After I really knew what it was, I think maybe you know, when I was younger, I heard about Babylon, but I don't really even, you know, never looked it up, never really thought about what it was. But I mean, it was pretty amazing to go there and actually see it.
Yes.
Once you knew what it was, and I know I have a few pictures somewhere of it, but we went there that was my second deployment that I went there. And we drove up there I don't know why we drove up there, to be honest with you, but we drove up there because there's Babylon, and then there's one of Saddam's palaces that is up there, and obviously at the time.
Babylon.
Right, I don't think it's like in Babylon, but it's like right next door up onto this big hill. There's a palace that kind of overlooks Babylon. And obviously at the time, you know, the U.S. forces had, you know, occupied it. But I spent the day there. Walk up to it, and I don't know if obviously I don't think it's the real doors, but, you know, you've probably seen in pictures and movies, they have the big, huge blue doors, and they're there, and you walk through, and you get to go, you know, look at all those old carvings and stuff. I guess they're like rocks or stone.
I mean, old.
Old, yeah. I mean,
Was it kind of surreal?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it a big city?
No, I don't remember it being very big. And I don't know, maybe it's just the part that I could go and walk through was fairly small or what, but yeah, I remember walking.
Lots of history.
Yeah.
The whole country you were in, incredible history.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just.
And it's just something it's something that, you know, how many people of course now I'm sure it's a little more readily available to go and see, but how many people have gone, Americans have gone and been able to see that.
Well, especially the way you went.
Yeah.
What a tour.
Yeah.
No kidding. Well, okay, so see, how many years had you been in by the time your third tour was
Third
up?
deployment I'd been in for, what was that, 2000, so, yeah, 7 years?
About 7, no.
Or 6 years. 6 years, yeah.
Okay, so at that point, were you thinking of making a career, or did you not?
I was undecided. I'd already re-enlisted once, and so I was probably midway through my second enlistment, and I went home, and I started doing. I became an instructor for, we called it a crew chief course. So basically, you take all the crew chiefs, and they go through this course, and it's kind of like a refresher course, teach them land navigation. We'd go out to the range, and they'd fire, you know, weapons and do like gunnery tables and stuff like that. So I was like the instructor for that, and I had one other guy that worked with me. So I did that. It was okay. I didn't.
The glamour kind of worn off.
Yeah, I was kind of unhappy with my command. So at that point, I was kind of on the fence on if I was gonna re-enlist or if I would re-enlist and maybe try to change jobs and try something different. And I remember I was so close to my my date that I was going to get out, that I got a phone call and it's like, are you going to re-enlist or not? Because you're running out of time to put in a re-enlistment package or, you know, start doing your paperwork to get out. And so I talked to the wife and, you know, just circumstances. I didn't like living in Southern California.
She was on base, was she?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every time I deployed, she would move back home, and then, you know, when I was there, she would come back. So I was kind of unhappy living in Southern California. It's just not my, I'm more of like being in the mountains and stuff like that. So I finally think I just made the decision. It's like, and just get out and see what happens and hope for the best. I didn't have that much of a plan on what I was going to do when I got out, but
you went ahead with the decision, and your wife was probably more than okay with it.
She was okay with it. I think she enjoyed living down there, but but she missed her family too. So I mean, it wasn't.
Family's thing here.
Yeah.
So you pretty much wrapped it up. Came back to Walla then.
Yep.
And what was next for you after the service?
So, just got a job doing concrete and did that. Just try to fit back into normal life, I guess, is what the cliche.
Was that an adjustment for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different, and some people have a harder time than others adjusting to it. I think it wasn't super easy, but I didn't have, like any major problems adjusting to it.
Because the military is family.
Yeah.
It's a culture.
Yeah. It's just a lifestyle, and this is totally different type of lifestyle than
finding people to talk to that understand your life and language. Yeah. And speaking of that, did you come back and join any veterans groups?
No.
Just went right to work.
Just went right to work. Yeah. I'm kind of I guess you could say I'm kind of antisocial anyways. So.
Well, the virus is helping.
Yeah. See, after me, nothing really has changed. So it's normal anyways. I don't go out drinking. I don't go to bars. I don't go and socialize. So.
Yeah. Do you stay in touch with any of your buddies?
Mm-hmm.
Those are your buddies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever go to any of the reunions?
No, I mean, because I missed one reunion just because when I got out, I kind of, I never been on any kind of social media. 2010, I mean, I don't even know if Facebook probably wasn't even around back then. So I didn't even get on Facebook and social media kind of stuff until like 2 years ago, I think. So, and then finally I, reconnected with a lot of guys that I hadn't talked to in quite a while. And of course, everybody is spread out all over,
Absolutely.
There's a couple guys that I know that are still in, and they're probably getting ready to retire pretty soon.
You ever go to Marine Corps balls?
No, I haven't since I got out. No, I've only been to one.
Uniform?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Of course.
I'll never get rid of that.
Yeah.
Won't fit in it, but I got it.
You bet. Do you think back, you probably remember your instructors, their names, the whole... Yeah.
I remember one of my drill instructors actually got killed in Iraq. I remember seeing that in a newspaper.
Oh boy.
My mom showed me this newspaper, and it showed, I don't know if it was like all the casualties that were up to that point, and I remember looking through it, and I was like, oh, that was my drill instructor that I remember that got killed. And I think I remember actually hearing the story when I was in Iraq, because he was a sniper, and the story that I heard was him and maybe a spotter were on a roof, and they were there with Iraqis, and they had fallen. I don't know if they'd fallen asleep, and then the Iraqis killed them. That's the story that I heard. So, I mean, don't quote me on it as fact or anything, but yeah, it was something. All those kind of things, kind of, are. I don't know if they're hard to take or how to think about it. I know one time I ran into a guy that was one of the infantry guys that was on my vehicle. I think I ran into him in 29 Palms. We were doing some training there, and he was telling me that some of the other guys that were with us that on other deployments that they'd went on had gotten killed, or I know he told me one guy had lost his arm and stuff, and just
Very surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very hard. Very hard.
It's just
That's the hard part of it.
yeah, it's something that you realize that people can just be gone like that,
right.
and
That is,
kind of something different.
It's very, no, it really is. It's very, it's quite, it's a heavy cost.
Yeah.
Going to war and being in the military. That's why there's so few and the brave. And I mean, that's really so true. Just the few and the brave. And but just going back then, anything that I may have missed that you want to add to the story, that you just want to add on at the end? And the other question would be, how would you, if it changed your life, or how did it change your life by being in the military?
Oh, it was this far up until this date. I mean, it's probably the best experience that I've ever had.
Really?
You know, yeah. I mean,
And could you? I think I know why. Would you like to explain why?
it's just, I mean, it's something that's hard to explain. You know, it's to serve and to, say, here's at least 4 years of my life, or here is my life,
That's right.
to protect your country is just something that,
That's right. And I call you guys bravehearts.
Yeah.
You are.
it's,
I get a little emotional.
yeah, it's hard to,
'Cause I appreciate you so much.
I remember, when I met you at the rally, obviously I was there on the right side. I think the right side, but
You bet you were.
if I, I look at the other people, and even though I totally disagree with what they say, it's like, you know what? That's why I was in the military, is because they have the right to say that, even though I don't disagree with it and I think they're stupid for their position. It's still, it's still the, the right that, one of the rights that makes our country great.
Lance, yes, it is absolutely.
And what really, is to go and see some of these other countries, to see Iraq and to see how they live, just gives you a huge appreciation to, what you have here.
Is just the sound of America and coming home. I was just so proud. Nothing like it.
Yeah.
You're right. Really, to have that experience of being somewhere else, absolutely.
And you've seen, you've seen how other countries live and how people live, and it's definitely something that a lot of people in this country take for granted.
Absolutely. And not to add on to your amazing story, but we pray we don't lose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
It's I fear it's just a breath away of right now of being lost, a lot of these things.
But
which is scary.
Well, yes, Lance, and you know what, just you sitting there with that flag behind you, it's, I get emotional. It's, as you can see, I love the flag. And it's an emotional, it's a passionate thing. And Vic, did you have anything to add? Vic, did you have any? Okay, yeah. But anyway.
And I feel I'm such a, I look at some of these other people that have been on the news and some of these real heroes, and makes me emotional. My part has been,
but
so
you didn't know, Lance,
minuscule.
Lance, you did not know when you signed up what was going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And you were willing to pay the cost, which is so exceptional. Well, I'm sorry. Like I said, at the end of these interviews, it really touches me, and I'm just so privileged to be to sit here with you guys, because you're just So amazing. So thank you, Lance. Thank you for this day, for your story, and your story will be archived because it really is modern day history that you have made.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You saw it firsthand.
History is a great thing.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible what you experienced. So thank you.